Well, until the great unlocking happens, we have to use the time as best we can. For many parents of children and others, that means learning new things. The BBC's doing its bit with BBC Bite Size, using some distinguished figures, including David Attenborough, to teach children at home. Another of the expert teachers is Professor Brian Cox, the physicist famous on television and now one of the faces of Bite Size. I spoke to him just before the show came on air, where he's doing lockdown at home and teaching his own 10-year-old son. And I asked him to tell me about Bite Size.
Well, I think the easiest way is if you go online to a search engine, type BBC Bite Size, then you'll come up to the web page with links to all the lessons. But if you can't do that, they're also available on the red button on the TV.
Now, there's 200 of the UK's top teachers, plus very famous faces like yourself, doing this. What kind of things are you going to be teaching?
Well, I was asked to do two things, which turned out to be quite difficult, actually. One is to talk about forces and motion, how things move, but for 10 and 11-year-olds. And then also for 11 and 12-year-olds, talk about the solar system, astronomy in general. I should say that these are all subjects that are on the curriculum at the various different key stages. And so the whole thing is built around what those students, those children would be learning in school, were they at school now.
You've got your own 10-year-old, I think, in the house at the moment, and you're homeschooling him. How's that going?
Well, I must say, as I said, it was quite difficult because these concepts, I mean, we're talking about motion, for example. It sounds like something obvious. You know, you just say, well, things move, and if you apply a force, they accelerate. But actually thinking about these things ultimately led Einstein to his theories of relativity in 1905 and 1915. So understanding how to pitch these ideas to these age groups, particularly 10, is a real challenge. And I must say, just as an aside, it gave me, if I needed to have any more respect for the skill and professionalism of teachers, and I'm sure many parents share this view, then it has been delivered to me very harshly, in some sense, by trying to take over, however briefly, and to explain these very complicated concepts.
Yeah, not so easy. And presumably, lots and lots of people have the experience as younger people of being taught science at school and finding it a bit dry. How do you get round that problem? Because it is crunchy. You do need to know lots of facts. It's a bit mathematical. How do you deal with children?
Well, I mean, to give you one example, I mean, I was talking about the solar system and galaxies. So one of the questions that they're posed in the curriculum is what's the Milky Way made of? Now, that sounds like a very simple question. You might say stars. Yeah. Well, it turns out, in fact, that only around 5% or so of the mass of a galaxy like the Milky Way is in the stars, in the matter we can see. By the way, that's 200 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Most of it's made of something called dark matter. We don't know what that is. And in that sentence, I think, is the key to inspiration. The great Richard Feynman, in an essay called The Value of Science, back in 1955, said, what's the most valuable thing about science? It's teaching us to embrace doubt and uncertainty. That idea that there's something profound about the galaxy, in this case, what this mysterious substance dark matter is that makes up most of it. There's something profound that we don't know, is not to be feared. It's to be welcomed and embraced. And to me, just my experience with my son is that's the kind of thing that captures his imagination. And I would go on to say, actually, that what Feynman was saying is that the reason that we teach science, the value of science, is probably that one concept. And you'll see it. You know, I know this is a primarily political show. You'll be talking about the current situation we're in. The point is that we are facing the unknown. This is a new virus that appeared just late last year or early this year. We don't know much about it.
Right.
And so that idea that what we have to do as a society is to find out. When you hear we're following the science, right?
Yeah.
That following the science means understanding that we don't have the answers yet.
Well, we're all following the science. Some of us are trailing further behind than others, but the coronavirus crisis has given lots and lots of people a new respect, obviously, for scientists of all kinds. Do you think it's going to see a great uptick in kids wanting to know about science? That will be one of the, as it were, virtuous results of this dreadful time.
I think so. I mean, ultimately, I think this crisis will be solved by science, in the sense that we need a vaccine and or effective treatments. And so I think that when you see science in action, as I said, there's no such thing as the science, which is a key lesson. If you hear a politician say we're following the science, then what that means is they don't really understand what science is. There isn't such a thing as the science. Science is a mindset. It's about trying to understand nature, and that can be a rather painfully slow and frustrating process, as we see here. But it's also, in that sense, an exciting process if. This is the key point. If you embrace the idea that doubt is, as Feynman said, is to be welcomed and not feared.
Well, I guess there is nobody in the country anymore, not a single person, asking what's the point of science. Brian Cox, thanks very much indeed for talking to us, and good luck with Bite Size.
Thank you very much.